Hi, thank you for your question. So I've actually technically detransitioned and retransitioned several times over the past 20 years. I'm old. I know talking about detransitioning sometimes serves as like ammo for those who say that it's just a phase, that medical transitioning is dangerous because what if people regret it? But the truth is it's incredibly rare for trans people to regret their transition, and typically trans people detransition for things like, religious reasons, family issues, safety reasons, employment. It's actually very rare that people detransition only because they want to. So this is me when I was about 15 years old. As you can see, I was like pretty feminine, like I presented feminine. This is me when I was 16, so it's like a complete overhaul. I don't look that much different than I do now. I dressed masculine. I just kind of told people I was a masculine lesbian because it was easier. Towards the end of this, I started like adopting like, male pronouns and stuff. I finally met my first trans person, which was really cool. I'm from a small town, like, so I didn't have exposure to trans people. But I was in and out of the closet a lot at this time. Like, I would present masculine, then feminine, masculine, then feminine. It was constant. Like, I was constantly detransitioning. And the reason back then was primarily due to religious reasons. I was raised Irish Catholic, and I've struggled a lot in life, not just back then, with, being trans and like what that means with my spiritual and religious identity. But I really heavily struggled back then, and that's the main reason why I would continuously like go in and out of the closet. So I remained detransitioned from probably about like 17 or 18 till 26 years old. So that's like almost 10 years. I tried incredibly hard not to transition. At this point, I had my son. I was nervous about how it would impact him, how society would see me as a parent. I really tried so hard not to, but it got to the point where I obviously, like, it was very apparent that, like, mental health wise, I wasn't doing well. And I remember every morning I would literally feel sick to my stomach about it. And I did end up pursuing medical transition when I was 26 years old. Having access to testosterone and starting my medical transition was, I can't even describe the amount of freedom it felt like. It down the line, I ended up having top surgery. Once again, it was monumental. Like, to be able to have access to that, it just completely changed my life. And now, like almost a decade later, like I do not regret it at all. And even when I did detransition, I never regretted it. So in total, I was on testosterone for about 3 years, but 2.5 years in, I noticed I was starting to have some liver issues. My physicians and I tried everything. We tried cycling, we tried a lower dose. It just didn't work. My liver just was not responding well to testosterone anymore, and it was recommended that I go off. This was incredibly hard because I was 3 years in. I was like, this is what I looked like. It reminds me of that quote by Lana Del Rey when she says something like, it didn't bother me because I knew that getting everything you ever wanted and then losing it is what true freedom is, or something like that. Like, that's what it reminded me of because I had gotten everything I wanted, and then like to just completely lose it, it was devastating. Most people that might sound silly, but I was only like 3 years in on testosterone, and some of that time I was cycling it, so really it wasn't even 3 years straight. So most of my changes had already occurred, but there was hope that I could have had more changes, and the fact that that was just like, not a possibility anymore, it was really hard to deal with. Every morning, it honestly felt like hell, looking in the mirror and going about my day, because I would just wonder what changes are going to revert. And there's such little research on this that no doctor could really tell me anything. I had no idea on what to expect. I would have to go on like message boards and try to find like other people who had gone through it, and it was few and far between experiences. So I just had no idea what to expect, and it was really scary. Now, I live in a rural area, and it's a pretty conservative area. I knew from experience, like living as a non-passing trans male, it was gonna be a lot rougher than passing as a cis male. So that really scared me as well. I worried about the safety of like going out with my son. He was getting older, like he was more aware of things, so I was really nervous about that. So I ultimately ended up detransitioning, and my thought process behind this was, one, at least if I go out presenting as a woman, I still passed fairly well as a woman, except my hairline hairline was awful. But other than that, I passed well as a woman, so I wouldn't get hassled. My son wouldn't see me get hassled. That was a big part of it. Also, not having to look in the mirror every day and wonder what's going to revert. What am I going to look like? It was sort of like ripping a band aid off. That's kind of how it felt like in my head. I knew that I was going to have to deal with dysphoria. I still deal with that. That's something that's never going to go away. But I have a clinical team, so I felt like, at least I have support in place to deal with that dysphoria, and at least I'll be safe, and hopefully it'll just get me by for a little bit. This only lasted a month and a half, and I was very transparent with people in saying, like, if I find a way to live as a male without testosterone, I'm going to do it. So most people in my life, like when I retransitioned back to male, they were not surprised at all, including my husband. He stuck by me through all of it. Nobody was really shocked. And a lot of people will ask me, they'll say, do you think you'll ever detransition again? And my answer is yes, I do. Because if you ask me right now, like, do I want to? Of course not. But I've never wanted to. But I mean, statistically speaking, I probably will. I'm 35 years old. I haven't even lived half of my life yet. And I've already detransitioned more than once. So odds are I probably will again. If it comes to like mine or my family's safety or like, securing income, things like that, I absolutely would detransition again. I don't think it would last a long time, but there are reasons that I would still do it.